to a different sound, the roar of monster trucks. It's the Renegade CNT Monster Truck Challenge, the latest motorsports phenomenon, monster truck racing indoors, coming up next on Trucks and Tractor Power. We're in the Mid-South Coliseum here in Memphis, Tennessee for Trucks and Tractor Power on the National Network. I'm Gary Lee alongside Rich Hooser, and tonight we have monster truck competition. We have a who's who of monster trucks.
You're right. You have last year's winner, the Equalizer, but then he's got some stiff competition tonight. All new Bigfoot racer coming out tonight to see how he can do. And, of course, the Gravedigger is going to see if he can put these guys in a grave.
Well, with monster truck competition becoming a year-round motorsports, that means we have to move indoors in the winter months, and being indoors provides a very special challenge.
Indeed it does. A lot of driving skill. This is what's going to win this race tonight. Who's going to see who can get across this set of cars here. You don't have a lot of room. It's a short track, so there's no time to change your mind and make any mistakes.
And the third member of the broadcast crew is Army Armstrong. He will join us when we return to Memphis for monster truck competition. Back in the Mid-South Coliseum here in Memphis, and there is a young fan. He is prepared to handle all the noise being churned out by these monster trucks as Bigfoot. That's Andy Brass on board. He will have a bye run. He was the fastest qualifier this evening, but by the rules, Rich Hooser, he still has to make that first pass.
Indeed he does, and it has to be a legal pass. He cannot red light, and he has to stay in bounds. Of course he does. Now he takes it a little easy, but then again, he's got to get on it a little bit. He's still checking out the truck. It's still fairly new. He's working the suspension. He's seeing how the truck's going to handle the rest of the night, and you can see how that suspension works fabulous on that truck.
Well, that was the bye run for Andy Brass in Bigfoot. We are now ready for side-by-side competition. The very popular Gravedigger out of Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. This is Dennis Anderson, the 1950 panel truck. And here is Mike Wine from New Jersey in the Jersey Outlaw of Ford. It's Chevrolet against Ford. And the Gravedigger, but did he stay on top of the cars? Was that a legal run?
Yes, it was. He was able to keep two of his right two tires on the cars when he exited that ramp, and that makes it a legal run. He was a little behind there over that hill. Outlaw kind of got the jump on him, but he made up time.
So the winner is Dennis Anderson in the Gravedigger.
Okay, watch here, Gary. We'll be able to see Dennis's run head on, and you can see what I mean about just two tires exiting them cars, which makes it a legal run.
And here's a look at the radically designed Blazer convertible. Mad Dog, the name of this creation. And the driver is Bob Breen out of Jefferson City, Missouri. Mad Dog, a 454 Chevrolet power plant. His competition will be Johnny Kwasniewski in the Buffalo Tremor.
One thing I must say about John Kwasniewski in the Buffalo Tremor, he's come a long way over the last couple of years. He used to have a lot of problems with his truck braking, but he's doing real good this season, and he's got that truck dialed in.
Well, of course, these drivers strive for consistency as well as speed. By the slightest of margins, it's Johnny K. the Buffalo Tremor.
And let me tell you what happened to Mad Dog here. Watch him. He comes over the hill real good, but when he gets to them cars, he just doesn't give it enough gas. He lets off, and his front end comes down a little bit. If he would have stayed in it, it could have been closer. He could have won.
A good crowd on hand here in the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. This is a basketball palace, but tonight it's the roar of monster trucks, and some of the roar being provided by the Wild Hair out of Arnold, Missouri, Marvin Smith. And here is Scott Stevens in King Crunch. And we have a special radio hookup tonight where Army can talk to Scott Stevens.
Let me talk to you for a minute, Scott. Everything looking good? You got good heat, everything going in the left lane?
Yeah, this is the lane I like, and the motor's right where I want it, so if we get a good light, we're going to be here at the finish line.
Now, the purpose for this radio is so the driver can always stay in communication with his crew chief.
A lot of air under King Crunch. He takes the victory, but it looked like Marvin Smith had a problem.
He might have. He's been having little problems with his carburetors lately, and I think he got flooded out a little bit and just didn't get the horsepower enough. As you can see, no air. He nosedived down, and it gave King Crunch the win.
Scott, good run, but we received word to get a little bit of damage to the left front of the truck. What is it?
We just broke a shock, Army, and it's not going to hurt nothing on this little short track.
The communication you're having with us during the run, I want to thank you for that. Does that distract you at all?
No, it really kind of helps me, especially when he's playing like King Crunch and coming in real slow, and I don't have to think about Marvin. Our stuff's working real good tonight. When I can talk to you and Crash, you know, it kind of gets me out of the racing, and you know, when I have to quit talking and I get back and ready to race, and it kind of staged real slow. And
we'll see you in that next round.
Thank you.
I tell you, it's kind of interesting, though. Sitting here talking to the guy, you can tell he's still going 150 miles an hour. His heart is pumping like crazy. He'll be back. We're going to be keeping an eye on him. That's King Crunch out of Texas. Well, Army, he referred to Crash. That is the name he has for his crew chief. As we take a look at Steve Kane now, an awesome Kong out of Killeen, Texas. The Chevy 496 cubic inches, and his competition this evening will be Whiskey Business with Ken Deffey out of St. Louis, Missouri.
Now, of course, Ken is a rookie in this monster truck racing. He's just recently got out of the service, and now he's behind the wheel of a monster truck. But I tell you what, he's been driving like a veteran.
Well, this could be a good education for Ken because he goes up against the veteran, Steve Kane, an awesome Kong. And the little narrow Chevy truck from Texas takes the victory. Awesome Kong will advance.
They both did a great job. They come off the light together, but look how the advantage Awesome Kong has when he got over the hill. But Ken Deffey pretty much caught up as soon as he reached the cars. It was a good race.
Well, apparently there's a problem mechanically with Awesome Kong. That truck will have to be towed out of this complex.
Well, Gary, I'm down here on the floor, and I just talked to Steve on his way out to the pits, and he said it's no problem. He just overheated a little bit from the last run, and he just don't want to take a chance of doing any engine damage so he can be ready for the next round.
Well, here's a driver that is ready. This is USA 1 Steve Wilkie, who was the crew chief for Rod Litzow when Rod won the national championship. So he knows this truck inside and out, and a good look at Jesse Berge playing for keeps.
Of course, this might be a little bit of a mismatch here. Jesse Berge's truck is not quite set up as technically as USA 1 is for racing. As you see right now, Steve Wilkie's getting all psyched out. He does this every time he runs. He puts his mind to what he's doing, so nothing else bothers him, and all he has to worry about is winning the race.
Well, routine he goes through before every run. USA 1 and playing for keeps, Chevy against Chevy. And Steve Wilkie has the big advantage as he crosses the finish line. He'll advance in USA 1.
And if you didn't notice, he didn't take it very hard, nice and easy over the hill. He knows he's got an advantage. He's ahead. He doesn't get a lot of air, and he just makes a nice, clean run. And what we're going to see here is in-cab camera. Now, you can see the abuse these drivers take, and boy, do I know how that feels.
Well, Steve Wilkie's going in some big shoes to fill, but you look like you're just taking it one step at a time and doing a good job. It looked like an awfully smooth run out there, Steve.
Well, that's about it, Army. I can't fill Rod's shoes. All I can do is create something for my own. True Value, Master Mechanic, Chevrolet, Everett Jasmer, all the guys at the shop, I got to do something for them. Those are the shoes.
It's amazing how many guys are behind you. We'll see you in that next round. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Army.
And now we are ready to take a look at that bright yellow Chevrolet of Gary Porter. That's the Carolina Crusher out of the state of North Carolina. 468 cubic inches from that Chevrolet power plant. And he goes up against another Chevrolet, the pink and white of Bennett Clark. So it's Chevy against Chevy. North Carolina against Georgia. A pair of Southern gentlemen in round one here in Memphis, Tennessee in the Mid-South Coliseum as Clark stages the Clydesdale 2. And track official Tracy Smart reaches for the starter's button to turn these two Chevrolets loose. And Gary Porter picks up the victory in Carolina Crusher.
Gary, just as the runs we previously saw here, these guys are staying side by side over the hill, and then here's where the race is won. As soon as you hit the cars, Porter hit him first and was able to take the win.
Gary Porter, I got a question just as a fan. When you guys come in from outdoors like that, the windows are all fogged up. How can you see out of the truck?
they're really not as fogged up from the inside as it looked like from the outside. You know, if I couldn't see, I would have stopped and wiped them off and everything, and to make sure I had a good safe run.
What causes that?
Or the temperature change from outside. It's cooler outside than it is in here, and we come in the windows wanting to fog up a little bit on us.
Let's talk about the next round. The truck looking okay? Everything ready to come back and do battle with these guys?
I think so. The truck looks okay. I don't know who I'll be drawing the next round, but I want to try to, to push the truck as hard as I can to take a win. So hopefully I can win the points race this year.
Well, Gary Porter will take on the winner of this matchup between Equalizer and Nightlife. And here's a look at Equalizer David Morris out of Springfield, Tennessee. And Nightlife built and driven by Dave Wyzorek out of Grand Island, Nebraska.
And Gary Porter mentioned earlier about wanting to get enough points to win that national championship, which is something the Equalizer is familiar with because he is the defending national champion.
David Morris won it last year. He eyes the green light. And look at the big victory for David Morris in Equalizer.
Now, Dave did a good job coming over that hill. He came over nice and straight, but he got a little crooked there before he hit the cars, but he was able to keep his truck under the control and blow away Nightlife.
The run right there looked a little bit out of shape. The truck didn't stay as smooth or as level as the other trucks have been running. What's causing that?
Well, that time when I came over the hill, I wasn't straight when I went to hit the set of cars. I had got turned somehow, and I was having to fight a little bit to get it back straight, but I couldn't slow up because I had to win, so I'm going to try to correct that problem on the next race.
And that concludes our first round of competition. An enthusiastic crowd on hand here at the Mid-South Coliseum. Rich Hooser takes an unscientific poll on the crowd favorite.
You got an outlaw hat on. We got an outlaw truck here tonight. That don't mean nothing.
Bigfoot.
How about you? You got the Gravedigger shirt on.
Gravedigger.
All right, Gravedigger. How about you?
Gravedigger.
Okay, we got some Gravedigger fans down here. You got a Bigfoot shirt on. Is that who's going to win this tonight?
Bigfoot.
All right. How about you?
Gravedigger.
Okay. How about you?
Gravedigger.
All right. We got a lot of fans. Here's another Gravedigger, and we got monster truck shirts. Everybody's having a good time here tonight, aren't they? We are back in the Mid-South Coliseum here in Memphis for what the fans might consider a dream matchup to start second round competition. The quarterfinals, Bigfoot with Andy Brass and Dennis Anderson with Gravedigger. Then it's the Buffalo Tremor and King Crunch. In the second bracket, we have Awesome Kong and USA 1 and Carolina Crusher and Equalizer. And there is the airbrushed artwork on the side of the 1950 panel truck Chevrolet Power, the Gravedigger, driven by Dennis Anderson, and Andy Brass, the all-new Bigfoot 8 out of St. Louis, Missouri. And keep your eye on Gravedigger, because whenever he goes up against Bigfoot, you never know what he's going to do.
And he gets in trouble. That's what he does. Dennis Anderson almost clipped the rear of Andy Brass.
Now keep your eye on the Gravedigger. When his back tires clip that first car, it throws his rear end around to the left, causing him to lose a little bit of control and come real close to hitting Bigfoot.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, when you're on top, there's only one place to go, buddy, and everybody's trying to knock you down this thing any way they can. Anderson gave you a handful right there.
That's right. Dennis did give a good run. But the Ford Bigfoot, we've been after the Chevy Digger for a long time and finally come around to where we got him.
Well, here's a look at John Kwasniewski. They call him Johnny K out of New York, the Buffalo Tremor, and he goes up against Scott Stevens in King Crunch. And we have an in-cab camera in King Crunch, so you'll be going along for the ride. And trouble right there in the shutdown area. Look at that mess.
What had happened down here, Gary, is King Crunch came down a little hard on that right side, and he just busted his front traction bar, the U-bolts. He almost just ripped the entire axle out from underneath the vehicle. Watch right there. It started to take a little stress, but here is where it all happened. It just tucked the tire up underneath. He's real lucky he didn't roll over, not to mention run into Buffalo Tremor.
Now here's a look inside the cockpit, and look at the abuse Scott Stevens takes. Okay, Scott, are you okay, first of all?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was going to be a bad ride, but, the truck did okay.
But the chassis just separated and it rolled back on you, or what?
Yeah, the front leaf spring just broke, and when it broke, it just let the front end roll out from under the truck.
So we'll need some help to remove King Crunch from the Mid-South Coliseum as we take a look at Steve Wilkie in USA 1, another Chevrolet, and he goes up against Awesome Kong, Steve Kane out of Texas.
This is going to be a close race. It's not sure who's going to win this because you got two excellent drivers and two excellent trucks.
Well, that time Steve Kane made it look easy.
He sure did. USA 1 looked like he got a little too much air. Awesome Kong stayed on the ground. Notice how USA 1 bounces a little bit there, and Awesome Kong is already on the ground. That gives him an advantage right there.
And Awesome Kong will advance to the semis against one of these two. Equalizer, David Morris in the Chevrolet, or the Chevrolet Carolina Crusher with Gary Porter.
Now, Gary's been trying to keep that fog off his windshield like he talked about earlier from coming in from outside.
A close heat, but it's won, I think, by Equalizer and David Morris.
Indeed, it was Equalizer. With all that air he got from hitting the cars on that ramp, it seemed like Carolina Crusher should have been a little bit ahead of him. But Equalizer takes the win.
Well, as we take one more look at the damaged suspension on King Crunch, we're going to come back with the semis here in Memphis. Stay with us. We are back in the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, staging for the semis. There's a look at Andy Brass in Bigfoot. He'll be going up against Johnny Kay in the Buffalo Tremor. Here are the matchups as Bigfoot advances by defeating Gravedigger, Buffalo Tremor knocking out King Crunch. In the other bracket, we had Awesome Kong defeating USA 1 and Equalizer taking the measure of Carolina Crusher. So in the semis, it's Bigfoot 8 out of St. Louis, Missouri, driven by Andy Brass, and he goes up against John Kwasniewski in the Buffalo Tremor. It is Ford against Chevrolet.
And Gary, one thing, if you might listen here, you can hear the horsepower coming out from Buffalo Tremor. That's all from him. Andy Brass and Bigfoot, they actually run mufflers on that truck.
Well, there may have been a lot of horsepower from the Buffalo Tremor, but not enough to unseat Andy Brass in Bigfoot.
Andy did an excellent job. Look at the light he caught. He must have beat it by about a half a second off the line, and that just gave him a nice, easy win.
Andy, when the truck comes right across the finish line, it's making a popping sound. What is that?
Well, a lot of it is we're hitting up against our rev limiter, you know, which when it does, it starts cutting out the cylinders and then it backfires.
So there's a look at your defending national champion, David Morris in Equalizer, the Chevrolet, going up against another Chevrolet. This is the narrow truck out of Texas, Awesome Kong, driven by Steve Kane. They battle for the right to meet Bigfoot for the championship here in Memphis. We see a lot of smoke from Awesome Kong as Equalizer takes the win.
And it sounded like Awesome Kong lost a little power there. Now, you've seen a puff of blue smoke coming out as soon as he got over that hill, and I think he lost power, but Equalizer had all his power.
All right, Dave, you're going to the finals, baby. This is just nothing but an old-time street fight. You pull the gloves off, you go after each other, no love lost. And I know one thing for sure. He doesn't want you to beat him 2 weeks in a row, and he told me anything he's got to do to beat you, that's what he's going to do.
Well, I'm going to make him push his truck to the limit because I'm going to be the Equalizer. I'm going to run it just as hard as it'll go. So maybe I can hang in there and take a win.
Well, the fans are on their feet. They are excited about this championship shootout between the defending national titleist, Equalizer, and Bigfoot. There he is, David Morris in the Chevrolet. He goes up against Andy Brass in the Ford Bigfoot. The Equalizer first to stage. Now we get a shot of Bigfoot and Andy Brass. This is for all the marbles from Memphis, Tennessee, the Mid-South Coliseum. It's all come down to this final shootout between Ford and Chevrolet. Equalizer defeats Bigfoot. Equalizer got the big jump.
But, Gary, I think he got just a little bit too much of a big jump because he is going to be disqualified for red lighting. He left too soon, so the win is going to go to Bigfoot.
Andy Brass on a disqualification of David Morris will take the championship here in the Mid-South Coliseum. Equalizer disqualified for cutting the light too soon. And here it is in super slow motion. Watch for the green. Watch for the movement of equalizer.
An equalizer's already started rolling before the light turns green. It's an official disqualification. It's a great call by the TNT Motorsports officials. Now here's Army.
Andy, any win's a good win. Congratulations to you on this one. The General Tire Bigfoot really looked good tonight.
Yes, it did. The truck was running real well tonight. You know, like I say, the win was a good win. I think Dave got it off, jumped the light a little bit and was red lighted, but I figured we might as well push it. They might not catch it, so we went for it anyway.
When you're as quick as you are, you know these guys are going to be doing that, right?
That's right. You know, everybody's coming up against us now. They're helping them push their trucks hard. We've been running pretty hard with the truck. I don't think the truck's up to full capacity yet, but it's running well.
For Rich Hooser and Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. See you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power. And here's news about an exciting new release from Diamond T Sports. It's time to shake, battle, and roll. Call 1-800-453-2800 for 70 minutes of awesome air-grabbing rooster tail spring action from the worlds of monster truck racing, truck and tractor pulling, and mud bogging. Relive the great moments of thrilling side-by-side monster truck racing. Feel the ground shake from the raw power of truck and tractor pulling. And get down and dirty as the best mud racers battle the slime for the fastest time. All this incredible action on one video cassette just by calling 1-800-453-2800. That's 1-800-453-2800. Strap up for a ride on the wild side. It's time to shake, battle, and roll.